The gift of my life. Many years ago, I remember the day my grandson was born. It was a cold winter morning. The snow covered the ground and roof. The air was quiet. My son called me and said, "Dad, it's a boy." My heart raced with joy. I smiled so much that my face hurt. I grabbed my coat and rushed to the hospital when I first saw him. He was so small, his tiny hands moved slowly, and his eyes were closed. "Hello, little one," I whispered. He didn't understand me, but I felt a deep connection. It was a feeling I had never experienced before. I held him in my arms. He was warm and soft, like a little bundle of joy. I looked at his face and thought, this is my grandson. This is the beginning of something special. My son looked at me and said, "Dad, he looks like you." I laughed and said, "Poor kid." As he grew older, I became his first friend. He would sit on my lap and laugh at my funny faces. I would tell him stories, and he would listen carefully, even if he didn't understand all the words. His laughter was the sweetest sound in the world to me. We would spend hours together. I taught him how to hold a ball, how to draw pictures, and how to clap his hands. I showed him how to walk step by step, holding his little hands. He made me feel young again, as if life had given me a second chance. Every time he smiled, my heart felt full. I knew that he was not just my grandson. He was my little companion, my new best friend. And in those quiet moments, I realized something important. I was not just teaching him about life. He was teaching me how to live as the years passed. My grandson and I grew even closer. He called me Grandpa, and his little voice made the words sound magical. Every morning, he would run to me with open arms, shouting, "Good morning, Grandpa." That was the best part of my day. We had our special routines. After breakfast, we would go for a walk in the park. He loved to watch the birds fly and the squirrels jump from tree to tree. "Why do birds fly, Grandpa?" He once asked me. I told him because the sky is their home. He smiled and said the sky is so big. One day we planted flowers in the garden together. He picked the seeds and dug tiny holes in the soil. "Will they grow fast?" he asked, his eyes full of excitement. I told him it takes time, just like you are growing. He nodded and said, "I will wait." In the afternoons, we would sit under the big oak tree. He loved listening to my stories. I told him about my childhood, about how I used to climb trees and play in the fields. His favorite story was about the time I got stuck on a rooftop and had to call my dad for help. He laughed every time I told it. At night, we would look at the stars together. He would point to the brightest one and say, "That one is mine." I would laugh and say, "Okay, but don't take too many stars. Leave some for others." He giggled and promised to share. Each moment with him was a treasure. He made me forget my age. His energy and curiosity filled my days with joy. I knew I was lucky to have him in my life. He wasn't just my grandson. He was my best friend, my little star in the sky. When my grandson started school, everything changed a little. He still loved spending time with me, but now he had new stories to tell. Every day after school, he would run to me and say, "Grandpa, guess what happened today?" His excitement was endless. One afternoon, he came home holding a drawing. "Look, Grandpa," he said proudly. It was a picture of us under the big oak tree. I was holding a book, and he was sitting next to me. "I drew this in art class," he explained. I told him it was the best drawing I had ever seen. We hung it on the wall in the living room. Sometimes he had questions about school. "Why do we have to learn math?" he asked one day. I smiled and said, "Math helps you think clearly. It's like a puzzle for your mind." He thought for a moment and replied, "I like puzzles." That made me laugh. We still went to the park on weekends. Now, he loved riding his bicycle. "Watch me, Grandpa," he would shout as he pedaled fast. He fell a few times, but never gave up. Falling is part of learning, I told him. He nodded, dusted off his knees, and got back on a bike in the evenings. He loved to help me cook. "Can I stir the soup?" he asked every time. I let him, even though he sometimes spilled a little. He also enjoyed tasting the food. "This is delicious, Grandpa," he would say with a big smile. His happiness made every meal special. The seasons changed, but our bond stayed the same. Winter came, and we built snowmen together. Spring arrived, and we watched our flowers bloom. Summer was for ice cream and long walks, and autumn brought piles of leaves to jump into. Through all, I realized one thing. He was not just growing older, he was growing into a kind, curious, and wonderful person, and I was lucky to be a part of his journey as the years passed. My grandson grew taller and smarter. He started reading books on his own, but he still loved it when I read to him. "Grandpa, your voice makes the story better," he would say. That always warmed my heart. One day, he brought home a book from the library. It was about a boy who wanted to explore the stars. "Can we read it together?" he asked. So we sat by the fireplace, and I read the story aloud. His eyes lit up with wonder. "Do you think I can go to space one day?" he asked. I smiled and said you can do anything if you work hard. Our weekends at the park were still our favorite time. Now he liked playing soccer with his friends. "Grandpa, come watch me play," he said one Saturday. I sat on a bench cheering for him as he ran after the ball. When his team scored, he looked at me and waved. "Did you see that, Grandpa?" he called out. I clapped and gave him thumbs up. Sometimes he would sit quietly beside me and ask serious questions. "Grandpa, what was it like when you were my age?" he once asked. I told him about my childhood, the games we played, and the lessons I learned. He listened carefully, nodding as if he understood every word. In the evenings, we started a new tradition. We called it Storytime Swap. I would tell him a story from my past, and then he would make up a story about his day. "Today I was a pirate," he said one night. He described how he found treasure in the schoolyard and fought off imaginary sea monsters. His creativity amazed me. There were moments when he surprised me with his kindness. One afternoon, he saw an injured bird in the garden. "Grandpa, we need to help it," he said. We carefully placed the bird in a box and took it to a nearby vet. "You have a good heart," I told him. He smiled and spoke. "I learned it from you with every passing day." I felt more grateful for the bond we shared. He was not just my grandson, He was my best friend, and I knew that no matter how old he got, that would never change. Time moved quickly, and my grandson entered high school. He was no longer the little boy who held my hand, but he still came to visit me often. "Grandpa, I have so much homework," he said one day, dropping his school bag on the floor. I smiled and offered him tea. "Take a break and we'll solve it together," I said. Sometimes he shared his dreams with me. "Grandpa, I want to be an engineer," he said. "I want to build bridges and make the world better." His eyes sparkled with excitement. "You will do great things," I told him. "You've always had a strong mind and a kind heart." Our evenings became quieter, but no less special. He would sit at the kitchen table, doing his homework while I read the newspaper. "Grandpa, can you help me with this math problem?" he would ask. I would lean over and guide him through it. "You're still the best teacher," he would say with a grin. On weekends, we still made time for the park. He didn't play soccer as much, but we would sit on the bench and watch the younger kids. "That was me, wasn't it?" he said once, pointing at a boy chasing a ball. "Yes," I replied, "and you were the fastest one on the field." There were days when he seemed tired or worried. "Grandpa, life feels so hard sometimes," he admitted one evening. I patted his hand and spoke. "That's how life is, my boy. But hard times make you stronger. You'll see." He nodded and smiled, his confidence returning. One winter afternoon, he surprised me with a gift. "Grandpa, I made this for you," he said, handing me a photo album. It was filled with pictures of us over the years. There were photos from the park, birthdays, and quiet afternoons at home. "I wanted you to have all our memories," he said softly. Looking through the album, I felt a lump in my throat. "This is the best gift anyone has ever given me," I told him. He hugged me tightly and said, "You've given me so much, Grandpa." This is my way of saying thank you. In those moments, I realized something important. He was no longer just my grandson. He was a young man with dreams, struggles, and a heart full of love, and I was proud of him, more than words could ever say. Years passed, and my grandson grew into a fine young man. He finished school and got a job in the city. "Grandpa, I'll come to visit you every weekend," he promised. True to his word, he came back every Saturday, bringing stories about his life and work. One Saturday, he brought someone special with him. "Grandpa, this is Sarah," he said. Smiling shyly, Sarah was kind and sweet, and she treated me with such respect. "It's an honor to meet you, sir," she said. I could see how happy she made him, and that made me happy, too. They got married in the spring, and my grandson asked me to give a speech at the wedding. "Grandpa, no one knows me better than you," he said, standing before all the guests. I spoke about the little boy who grew up chasing soccer balls and building dreams. "He has a heart of gold," I said, "and today I see that he has found someone who matches his heart." As they started their new life together, my visits with him became less frequent, but our bond never changed. He called me every week, asking about my health and telling me about his work. "Grandpa, I'm working on a big project," he said one evening. When it's done, I'll bring you to see it." One sunny afternoon, he drove me to the city. "This is the bridge I designed," he said, pointing to the tall, beautiful structure. My chest swelled with pride as I looked at his work. "You built something amazing," I told him. He smiled and spoke. "I learned from the best, Grandpa." As time went on, my health started to decline. I could no longer walk to the park or read the newspaper without glasses. But my grandson never let me feel alone. "Grandpa, I'm here for you," he said whenever I felt weak. He brought me meals, sat by my side, and told me stories to keep my spirits up. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, he held my hand. "You've always been my first friend, Grandpa," he said softly. Tears filled my eyes as I replied, "And you've been my last, my boy," that night. I went to bed feeling at peace. I knew that my grandson had grown into a wonderful man, someone who would carry our memories forward. And as I closed my eyes, I thanked life for the gift of being his grandfather. I hope this session was helpful. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more English stories. Take care, everyone.